Sea of Thieves, when it first came out in I think 2018 for the Xbox, I was hooked. I was addicted. I loved it for about 4 hours. Then it got boring, it got empty, it got repetitive, and I lost interest very, very fast. But since that original release, I've heard of update after update. I've heard of good quality of life improvements, something about Jack Sparrow, and I've always wanted to return to the game, but I never did. I don't really use Xbox Game Pass because 90% of the games that I play on the PlayStation 5, and I just never felt like shelling out $30 for a physical copy. But Xbox recently announced that a handful of their games are coming to the PlayStation console, and when they announced that Sea of Thieves was going to be one of them, I got super hyped, I'm not gonna lie to you. I knew that this was going to be the perfect opportunity to jump back into the game. With years of updates, again, I was just so excited to jump back into the game for the first time in 6 years with a brand new wave of new players. And that's what I've been doing all day. Sea of Thieves just came out today for the PlayStation 5, or I guess technically it comes out 5 days from now. I got 5 days early access because I pre-ordered the super duper ultimate edition. But I've been playing it pretty much all day now, and I have a lot of thoughts that I want to share with you guys. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna review the game here for you. I'm gonna show you some raw gameplay, but before I do that, hit that subscribe button. I talk about video games all the time on this page. Day one reviews just like this I do very, very often. I just released a review for Grounded, another Xbox original game that also came out on PlayStation. But I do other video game discussions as well, and I also talk about movies and TV shows. But anyway, enough with this intro. Let's talk about Sea of Thieves. So I want to make it clear from the start that this is a first impressions review. I have been playing the game for hours, all day in fact, but there's still a lot for me to discover, and I haven't seen every single thing that this game has to offer. And like I said before, I played Sea of Thieves years ago, but it's changed a lot since then. So I approached this PS5 re-release like it was a brand new game, and I'm going to review this like it's a brand new game. This isn't going to be me comparing the game in its current state to its original release. This isn't going to be me hyper-focusing on the current season, or any specific update, or any specific new content. This review is going to be from the point of view of someone jumping in fresh with a clean slate on the PlayStation 5, and this review is for someone who's in the exact same boat as myself. But with that being said, depending how this video performs, I'd like to release a follow-up video next week, which would be more of a thorough deep dive into the game in its current state, after I'm able to put a significant amount of more hours into it, where I can really judge it fully as a live service game like it should be judged. But anyway, this review is also going to contain no story spoilers, and all of the gameplay that you're seeing is from very early on. I'm going to break this first impressions review up into 2 parts, what I liked and what I didn't like, but let's start with the things that I liked. The first thing that I noticed that I really appreciated is how there seems to be a lot to do in this game. Like I mentioned before, one of the biggest complaints that I and pretty much every other person had with Sea of Thieves on launch was that you ran out of stuff to do after one relatively decent gaming session. But now you can go into your quest log, which is organized great, by the way, and see all the different kinds of quests that are available. There's your standard voyages, which is more or less your basic, live service style questing. They are broken up into different types of missions that you do for different factions, all with their own leveling system and rewards attached to them. One will be your generic fetch quests. Go to this island, find X amount of pigs and deliver them here, or go there, find this treasure chest here, stuff like that. Another will be bounties for either enemies on land somewhere on some island, or specific enemy ships out in the open seas. And there are a few others as well, like escort cargo or take down enemies of the opposing faction. And this will be most of what you do, especially as a new player, especially in your first few hours of playing. A lot of sailing around, a lot of fetch quests, a lot of what can easily be called grindy busy work. And I know that's going to turn a lot of people off. But there's also a good handful of what this game calls tall tales, which are basically story quests or campaigns. These are the missions that you can do that actually have a narrative attached to them, and I imagine they probably provide a bit more depth and obviously more lore and world building. I haven't done any of these tall tale quests yet myself, but I can't wait to check them out. But for the sake of time and making sure I had this review done today, I decided to stick with the more standard questing. And I can see how all of this that I've mentioned so far definitely doesn't sound that exciting on paper, and I imagine as a solo player it can be horribly boring. Hell, it can be boring even when playing with a friend or two. But when you're playing with at least one other person, it can also be charming. It can be laid back. It can be surprisingly engaging. Depending on how you approach this game, there can definitely be something that's just so satisfying about the core gameplay loop. Your fellow pirate friend can steer the ship and try to get you from point A to point B while you're messing with the sails, raising and lowering the anchor, or using your cannons against the enemy ships that you see. And using teamwork to dig up buried treasure or to take out a boss always feels at least a little bit satisfying no matter how many times you do it. Then there's the shared world multiplayer aspect of this game, and honestly I wish I could talk more about it, but unfortunately I didn't really encounter that many players in the hours I spent playing today. Most of the players I encountered online I found in my first hour of playing. A couple enemy ships were going for the same treasure that I was looking for, then at one point after that a few clearly veteran players boarded my ship and they kept spawn killing me over and over and over and over, but other than that the Sea of Thieves was practically a ghost town. Now I can't speak on why that is. Maybe the game has been dead for a long time and despite this new PlayStation release it's still dead. Or maybe not a lot of people joined in the early access period like I did, but come April 30th it'll be thriving. I don't know. Or it could have just been a case of bad matchmaking, or maybe every single other online player just so happened to be on the other side of the map than me at any given time. But I can tell you, when you do run into other players, it's when the game is at its most fun from a gameplay perspective, at least in my opinion. When you and your crewmates are sailing in circles, trying to land cannonball hits on the enemies while they're doing the same thing to you, it's probably one of the most thrilling, tense, engaging PvP experiences that I've ever had. Every single cannonball that hits the enemy ship is far more satisfying than even like a 30-player kill streak in COD, again, at least in my opinion. And when you successfully steal someone else's cargo, it makes you feel so empowered yet so shitty at the same time. It's an addicting feeling that I loved. But don't even get me started on when you're the recipient of that thievery and that murder. It's annoying as hell, but in the best ways. But it's also important to note that you can also play this game in a solo server just by yourself or with friends if you want to avoid all the PvP stuff. Another thing that I really love about this game, it's definitely more of a personal preference thing, is the art style and the tone and just the vibe of this game. I love how laid back and chill it is. But anyway, what didn't I like about this game so far? As of now, I'm still not sold on it having that long of a lifespan, unfortunately. It definitely has a lot more to do than it had on launch, but I'm not sure how long that content can stay feeling fun and fresh and, more importantly, worth doing, especially if the servers are dead, because seeing other ships around, seeing other online players, it really elevates this game so much to such greater heights, and I'm wicked sad I didn't see more players in the game in my time playing today. Also, I did encounter a few bugs and glitches that made the game feel a lot less smooth than it should have. There were a few times that mission prompts popped up for my crewmate, but they didn't pop up for me. So I had to keep being told what we were doing and where we were going and if we actually finished a quest or not. But one time we finished a quest, and the words in the game told us we finished the quest, but the quest table in our ship never actually acknowledged that the quest was finished, and it acted as if it was still an active quest. And also a couple times, especially in the first few voyages, we were sent to the same island over and over and over, like 3 or 4 times in a row. That was probably just some weird coincidence, but it did break immersion and the fun factor just a little bit. But again, I want to make this clear, this game definitely can be considered boring, even with all of the newer content that's been added, even when playing with friends online. If someone told me that they fell asleep after playing this game for just 2 hours, I'd honestly believe them and I'd completely understand. It's a game you're either gonna vibe with big time, where it can be used as just like a virtual hangout section while doing some low stakes, somewhat stress-free gaming. This game is definitely an acquired taste, and if you jump into it expecting non-stop pirate action, you're gonna be really disappointed. But if you approach this game again like a chill pirate-themed treasure hunt with some decent exploration, with a little bit of combat here and there. You're gonna have fun. And depending on who you play with, this will be a game that you can very easily fall in love with. But anyway, that's my first impressions review after playing Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5 for one day. Have you played it yet in this early access period? Are you going to play it on April 30th? Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you're gonna ignore this game completely. Again, depending on how this video performs, I want to make a much longer, deeper dive into the game on the PlayStation in its current state. So consider subscribing if you're interested in that video, and just thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.